And coming up on stage for this particular session, we've got Dino Myers-Lamptey, and he'll be speaking to Olya Dyachuk. Please give them a warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Digital notes, as always.
Yeah, digital notes, and a bit of TV on the side. Yeah. No. Welcome, Olya, and my name is Dino Myers-Lamptey, founder of the Barber Shop. We're going to try and answer this question today. Would you like to just start by giving a quick introduction to yourself, your background, and what brought you to Heineken?
Hi everyone, Olya. I've been at Heineken for over 2 years, leading all things media, data and tech for consumer. My background is media agencies, so I always love these events because you always see lots of people from my previous jobs as well. So that's fun. And well, what brought me to Heineken? I think the desire to actually, transparently, I think have more control and more impact on the business. And Olya has been talking about a variety of things you could do when you're on the client side and ability to impact the industry, the business, and actually drive real change and real results, which I love.
Great. And what would you say is your approach to media channel selection at Heineken?
I feel like transparently, I don't think I'm going to tell in completely new things, but hopefully there will be some learnings from what we do. For me, channel mix is it's a bit like cooking, isn't it? Where you have lots of ingredients and you kind of know what they do, broadly speaking, yeah? But when you bring them together, things might work or fucking not work, basically. So what we do, I think, again, we have lots of data points. So obviously, the usual thing, you start with consumer insight, yeah, any media agency would tell you that, yeah? But then you have gazillions of other data points that from brand power studies to MMM modeling to creative effectiveness to sales studies that you run, partner studies, and this is where the challenge starts, yeah, because all of those things could potentially tell you different stuff. I mean, we had a case where one study was telling us YouTube is a brilliant channel in driving effectiveness, and another one is saying completely opposite. And we're like, well, what are we listening to? So the biggest challenge, I think, and what we are trying to embrace is clearly understanding what are each of those measurement opportunities are answering and how that can impact our media mix specifically. So let's say MMM is great, but it's ROI only. Previously, until last year, didn't really tell us much about the brand desire we drive. Yeah, so we chose it, we used it, but at a limited scale. Now, we are trying to overlay it with an additional brand desire information to then make decisions about the right mixes for our brands, where, for example, we know outdoors work extremely well for our brand Beavertown in not just driving ROI, but actually driving incredible awareness of the brand. Yeah, and for other brands, we saw a different situation where it didn't really work that well, and we had to take it off the list. So yeah.
So and just to clarify, so there's Heineken's part of a group with lots of different brands.
Yeah.
And that media mix, so it isn't just a copy and paste, right?
No.
Even though it's all beer.
Yeah. Oh, cider.
Cider as well. Okay.
Yeah. And we just, by the way, acquired a minority share in Served, which is a cocktail business as well.
So and also on that, your brands are effectively competing with each other as well at the same time, right?
True.
So you're after the same audience, maybe some non-alcoholic drinkers now and some cider drinkers, but does that affect? Do you do different strategies just to try and keep the brands apart as well, like deliberately?
Yeah. So there is two sides to it. I mean, from business standpoint, or rather three. Yeah. So from business standpoint, first that you look at is where this brand sits in our portfolio, of course. Yeah. So that informs our budgeting strategy. That informs also our split between ABTL, because we talk about media channels here, but it's important to know that there is a big connection between ABTL. So the new brand we would be launching, like a lot of probably drinks businesses would know, will be really heavy distribution based. So that would be heavy BTL, less ATL. That's first part, that you start with. Then you're also looking at actually life stages specifically of our brands. And this is where we have a variety of data points again to help us understand which channel work better at which stages and how many channels is an optimal or touch as well as touch points, depending what brand they are, what brand is. So for instance, when we've launched previously variety of brands, we knew it's actually 2 channels that you need to use, probably not more, roughly, and transparently. Outdoors, again, comes up really nicely. But if you think about challenger brands, what we see at least, actually, obviously there are traditional things, but AV mix plays a really strong role in that stage because you are moving not just from saliency towards saliency, but start building that either meaningfulness or differentiation of your brand. And that's where AV mix is actually driving the greatest impact. This is like the 2 things. There's ABTL planning based on strategy across portfolio, and then obviously life stage of the brand. And finally, I think when it comes to execution, is smarter plans within the channel mix. So when we are doing our planning across all brands, we always look at how our mix for, let's say example, I don't know if you guys know, we launched Cruzcampo, which is a new Spanish beer. So when we've done work on Cruzcampo, we would always look at how it looks, not just against our competition, but against our own brands that play in a similar field in terms of strategy, targeting, programming, and creativity.
Okay, and when should you decide to move on from a media channel or add another media channel into the mix? Is there a point at which you say, right, you get to this level of awareness, or you maximize your reach and frequency in a channel? How do you decide?
Well, I think first of all, I don't think there is a need in jumping between channels very quickly. There's nothing good in that. I'm a big believer, and frankly, my background is digital, but the more I worked across a variety of channels, I just realized consistency is key, and there is no new mix over there. There is actually the same mix and how you use it, but you need to give time to channels work. We are normally reviewing our channel mix on an annual basis, but transparently, I think you need few years of data, depending on, again, where your brand is at that life cycle, to actually understand what this channel drives for you. And we rather switch platforms, like at the execution stage, it's much easier to switch platforms and move into more, a terrible example, but let's say across social, we'll say, okay, well, we're running more on Instagram, we can move between Instagram and Pinterest, if we see that actually that started playing a better role for us. But other than that, I think you're just looking at the same data sources, your MMMs of this world, your effectiveness of this world. And by the way, effectiveness studies, I think what's important is creative effectiveness. So what Olya was mentioning, like the content itself, media strategies, comm strategies should inform creativity, and smart use and synergy of media and creative, I think, is the biggest challenge. I've been judging quite a bit recently, and genuinely those entries that show how media channel and creativity come together to multiply the impact win. Everything else struggles.
So just on that, this is a really interesting debating point, because I think that a lot of people do it slightly differently in terms of what is the strategic piece that should influence the media channel as such? So creativity is obviously really important, and particularly in Heineken's, as an example, in recent years, I've noticed a lot of like long form, storytelling, probably purpose-driven work as well. And where does that idea originate from? Maybe the creative agency, potentially. And then does that automatically inform the channel, or should it still be, really by the media strategist deciding, actually, we want to do long form, we want to tell a longer story, we want to be in platforms that can tell that longer story, and then you design the creative to meet the space.
This is such a good debate. We've been having this debate for years I've been having it with my clients when I was an agency, and when you're at a media agency, obviously you want to say media's first. We're going to decide what to do because we know consumer, and creative agency normally don't really do that. Don't show gazillions of insights and data points. But we've been testing in the last year actually different models and processes across our brands, whereby in some cases we started with pure media. In other cases we brought agencies together at the same time, trying to make them collaborate. In other cases we tweaked it. Transparently, what worked the best, I think, is no matter what, your brand idea comes from your business challenge and your brand. That's just not questionable. However, when you have that brand idea, this is where, before you start moving into building campaigns, this is where media and creative agency needs to really collaborate. Like before, it's all about informed, like staying informed. But here is, okay, well now, as we have an idea, okay, how are we going to bring it to life? That's when from our side, media comes in, speaks about consumer behaviors, the right touch points, and helps that idea to be shaped into, as you said, long-form content, short-form. Like I would say, good example probably of this work is what we've done on Strongbow. So Strongbow Ultra that we launched, completely new campaign for us. We've absolutely, the creativity was mental for our business. People are like, whoa, what is this, the goat, like strange goat, like whatever, dancing. But the idea came from creative agency, but then they worked so closely with us that it translated into a variety of new formats, like gamification mechanics. Like we did Tamagotchi with X. Every time I said like with Twitter, X, whatever, like helping people to maintain the life for that goat. We did like influencer content with more diverse influencers as well. That delivered great results, attracted younger consumers inside the category, because we took that media insight into that beautiful idea that creative agency had and just turned it into a pretty amazing campaign.
Yeah. And so, if we were going to just answer the question really quickly, you rely a lot on econometrics, and actually, there's a lot of brands that don't pay for that investment, which still surprises me. But that is kind of your guiding light, right? And would you say that there's one channel that comes out as being the best performer? One channel that wears the crown?
This is not the crown, absolutely not. What I would say though is, if you work across portfolio of brands, I admire versatility of out of home. It doesn't play same way for all the brands, but I think that like the fact that it works amazing for our footfall campaigns, obviously in some more established brands, but then we have amazing like special bills like we did for Heineken Silver, like with the 3D and etc., like driving brand awareness and recognition. But also we start seeing, we see online video actually pushing really hard in the last 3 years. We see massive uplifts. And I think again, through the fact that it starts creating better AV mix with TV. And then finally, influencers do supercharge social transparently. We all know social has been there for ages, but in the last 2 years, we've been doing a lot of studies on influencer, effectiveness of influencers, not just from brand perspective, but also from sales perspective. And it works in both cases. And the next level, what we want to do is look more into how actually utilizing diverse talent creates greater brand outcomes. I think there are some channels that are evolving very nicely. And I think that's where interesting opportunities are. Yeah,
that's really interesting. I just want to, on the influencer thing, because there was a really good talk yesterday about a celebrity, and there's a question about influence and celebrity. So when you talk about influencer, are we talking about people with a lot of followers on YouTube, etc., or are you also talking about celebrities?
I think we talk more about creators. Yeah, we obviously in some campaigns we work with more kind of celebrity style people, but predominantly it's creators, I would say, that we work with, and we work with large and small, like with micro kind of influencers, whatever we call them. And we've been doing some attention studies on or the creators' content, and again, it works well if you have right people. Incredible, and I'm glad we finally can measure it.
So we've got about a minute left, a minute and a half, and I did want to ask the audience to see if they had any questions, but we've got quite a big question to ask, which is about data and insight. And do you believe that there's sufficient data across media channels to sufficiently measure the impact of them? Or do you think we're missing something, and what are we missing if we are missing something?
I probably talk a lot from a FMCG standpoint, because we don't own point of sale and we don't have D2C, for instance. I think the biggest challenge is having measurement and data in place to connect the touch points and do cross touch point like attribution between on and offline especially. So to me that's a big pain. Like how can you create that journey? We are planning a study with one of our partners who have inventory across all of it. But if you try to connect all the dots, it's hard. Like US has been doing it for the last 5 years because of the data that broadcasters are sharing with them. I mean, in our case, sadly, I don't think we are there. And second is sales data. We get sales data, but late, not with the sufficient level of granularity. And this is where the off and on-trade retail opportunities are coming in. Like we've done work with Tesco and Birra Moretti on an ITV. And finally, we could bring some of the data points together to actually prove how we can drive not just, sales growth, but also like understand if we are driving new consumers, if we are driving the growth of the category, etc. I think the final point is attention.
Yeah.
It's measured very inconsistently. We've done lots of measurement, like with inches and with transfer, like Hoopla and Birra Moretti, but there is no one methodology to bring it all together, so we can understand what that attentive kind of measurement drives in terms of business outcomes like revenue or brand desire.
Yeah, but you consider it to be important.
100% it is. It's just more the question of, right now it's so fragmented, kind of everyone works with the same partners, roughly, but you can't connect the dots.
Yeah. And I think that's a great place to leave our discussion. Sorry I couldn't come to the floor for any questions, but thank you very much, Olya. And
Thank you.
Thank you everyone.